Bleh.
I have never thought about what Cough Cool is about. And I got to give credit to Raphael who discovered this. This blew my mind. This blew my mind. These streets we walk upon, this corner full of piss and fear. The street won't bear it long. It slants, it tilts. It's brought outside alive. I mean, this is really abstract. This is almost like Jim Morrison, sort of beat poetry. It's like Jim Morrison meets Charles Bukowski. We dine on visions with new eyes. Creep, creep, creep. And as I've said many times, I've always wanted to hear like a gothic death rock version of Cough Cool. So this is okay. I think this is the vampire perspective of Cough Cool. Had you been aware of this before Raphael posted that in the group? I don't know if you even saw it before when he posted it in the group. Were you familiar with that?
Oh no. I was really excited to see that. I thought, man, that really fit well. Never heard that before.
Yeah, that blew my mind. So we'll read that right now. Raphael wants to know: are you actually in Lodi right now? Our hearts are in Lodi. Okay, our hearts are in Lodi at all times. It doesn't mean that we're actually there. I'm in an undisclosed secret bunker called the Shadow Gallery, and Russell Murdergram is in TV Casualty headquarters, and we are broadcasting to you via Evil Live radio waves. Glenn Danzig was a bit of a poet. This is what somebody wrote. Now, this is like a source thing. People can just post this stuff. You know what I mean? This is just people's interpretations, song meanings. It's a really cool website. I was not familiar with it before, but here's the interpretation of Cough Cool. And again, I invite anybody to comment in the comments. We want to hear from you. We want this to be a conversation, a symposium with Rusty Murdergram and myself, Jeffrey Murdergram. Ready? Glenn Danzig was a bit of a poet when it came to his early lyrics. He likes to paint a picture with his words rather than tell a story. He sets a mood or attempts to put you in the shoes of a character. Cough Cool is about a town terrorized by a vampire told from the perspective of the vampire. Now, how much would you want Verotic to do like a free verse Cough Cool comic with like, an adaptation of like this vampire story with Cough Cool? I would like Glenn.
Yeah.
Uncle Glenn, what are you doing? Animate stories of your Misfits comic book. Make Misfits comic books in this way of your songs. Volumes, make 54 volumes. People will buy that. I would buy that. That would be so cool. And if he doesn't do it, somebody else should, like the Gore editor does, who I collaborated with on his London Dungeon comic. He did a comic, I animated it, and I did a sound design and did a nasally Bobby Steele impression. People actually thought that was Bobby Steele, which was the highest compliment I could have ever received. I feel like I need to pat myself on the back for that one. And so I will, in that kind of way. All right, let's talk about this. So this is about a town terrorized by a vampire told from the perspective of a vampire. Ready? This street we walk upon, this corner full of piss and fear. Piss and fear are two things predators can smell. I mean, that's such a literal definition of the lines. I mean, who knows if that was what Glenn literally meant, but I love the breakdown. What do you think about that?
Man, that's spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you could say about it, but
yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that myself, but
Never.
Hearing that or reading it, man, I can't argue with that a bit.
This street won't bear it long. In other words, bear fruit. It slants, it tilts, it's brought outside alive. And what he believes is a drunkard is thrown in the street, a live prey. So right off the bat, after reading that, like this is a guy making up his own narrative to the lyrics, which is something I don't know about you, Rusty. This is something I do all the time with songs, Misfits or otherwise. I sometimes, and maybe it's just the way that my brain works. Sometimes I will just think about a movie. Uh-oh, am I freezing? Can you hear me? Am I okay?
No, yeah, you're good.
I'm good. Okay. Sometimes I'll just think about a movie I'll write a movie in my head to the music that I'm listening to, or create a story. And I feel like that's what's happening here. I don't think Glenn actually wrote, I don't think Glenn interpreted that, but I love it. Let's just roll with it for now because it's cool. So a drunk comes into the street, it slants, it tilts, it's brought outside alive. I mean, it's a great interpretation of that line, right? Otherwise, it's just an abstract line. You know, Frank Black, aka Black Francis from the Pixies, you know, he gets interviewed about his lyrics all the time, and I truly believe his lyrics do mean something, but he'll always just say the lyrics sounded nice, so I put the lyrics together. It's meaningless alliteration. And I've read his lyrics and analyzed them up and down and found all sorts of symbolic meaning in them. So I don't believe that's true. And I think that maybe there could be a little bit of that here. Maybe cover your face when you walk by, drench your visions in darkness. And that's vampires like Dracula pull their capes over their faces to hide from the light or crosses. So cover your face when you walk by, drench your visions in darkness. And then spit up blood when you cough. Cool, cool, cool. The bite causes you to cough up blood. Love that. Absolutely love that. We dine on visions with new eyes. Creep, creep, creep. So, which means stalking the dinner with your eyes. We dine on visions with new eyes. I think that almost works except for the new part, but it's interesting. We dine on visions with new eyes, setting your sights on the prey. We cut our visions with two eyes. Cool, cool, cool. Double meaning, the double meaning of eyes as in eye teeth or fangs. We cut our visions with two eyes. It's like the most abstract way of saying a vampire is biting a guy on the neck when you think about it, which really is, man, that's cool. And then this street we walk upon, this corner full of fear, this street we walk upon, this corner full of piss and fear. And once again, once it's done, the streets go back to normal. So it's a vampire sees someone drunk walking out into the middle of the street, perhaps a deserted street where everybody's really scared. The vampire bites him, and yada, yada, yada. It does work. What are your thoughts, Rusty Murdergram?
I mean, it works, but maybe this guy, he had this idea, and it's like anything else. You can twist the narrative to make it fit, your story. I can't really argue too much about it. It sounds plausible. Same thing with Eagles. I mean, there's a lot of things you could twist that into making connections into that movie, but again, this is probably one of those deals where it's maybe a personal experience of Glenn's versus, or in addition to, something that was inspired out of a comic or a movie. I like it.
There's definitely that aspect to all of Glenn's songs. There's some sort of personal connection with the stuff that he is writing. I promise I'm going to take a look at the comments in a moment, because I see we got a bunch of comments. I just wanted to, another guy says, I guess it's about a gang beating up a guy till he spits and coughs blood. That's a very literal interpretation, I guess, which works. Let's see what the remainder comments are. I always operate under the assumption this song was about the Black Plague. So somebody thought it was about the Black Plague. Interesting. Okay. We got a little cameo from Dolly Parton getting vaccinated. Okay, let's take a look at the comments. We have Peter says, my interpretation of Cough Cool is just Glenn's observation of the streets filled with bums and people dying, coughing up blood. That is also, it's not as cool as the vampire thing, but that is so possible, right? Like that totally works. Donald says, cough COVID cool. I mean, why the hell didn't the Misfits market some masks? Jerry, Uncle Jerry, the merch master, what were you thinking not putting Cough Cool on a mask and just selling boatloads of them to Misfits fans? I mean, God, it's like a no-brainer. Mom says new eyes as in new vampire life, which is very interesting. There is a Blitzkid song called The Awakening, which is about waking up and becoming a vampire. And so that kind of ties into that. That's kind of cool. Rue Morg says, I agree with Peter. That's how I see the streets now and growing up in Jersey. There you go. Raphael says, maybe Cough Cool is about how we try to wear a mask out of fear and sickness behind a cool facade. It is but a thin veil. We have seen too much to hide these things well. I got to tell you, man, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, I like
love
that
the
one.
vampire angle. Yeah, I think you might be right. When I think about what Glenn was trying to write about, I think you're onto that. I think you're onto something. It's about symbolic masks that we wear, but it's nothing but a thin veil, and you're trying to play it cool, but you're coughing all the time. Candy Cane says, sounds also like shooting up, possibly heroin, and the chest infections that follow. Good. That's a good point. That did not consider that. And New York City. Pat says streets of Lodi in the areas they grew up had its gangs and some mean people. Pat would know as he is directly from Lodi. He is a good qualifier for that. You had to fight to survive. Magnon says, a decadent vision of the streets. Hello from Brazil. Hello. How you doing? Thank you for joining us from Brazil. Raphael says, nowadays you can see the man smiles and shit, but back in the day, he just hid in everything. Good point, Raphael.